Ladies and gentlemen, this is an address to the people and medias of the world. Allow me to share with you a message. What you take from this message is for you to decide. But we must address some important issues at hand as to who we are and what we stand for. We are simply anonymous. And before I tell you what anonymous is, allow me to begin by sharing with you a story of one person who takes the step to becoming anonymous. This person is neither you nor I, but everyone. It is our brother, our sister, our family, and our friend. This is their story. I awoke today much like any other. The alarm, the slight ache nagging in my back, the random ray of light sneaking through the curtain. Today was just like the last and a precursor to tomorrow. Every day was exactly the same. Wake up, coffee, cigarette, get ready, off to work. Spend all day at work dealing with bullshit I could care less about simply to make a few bucks. Go home, eat, a few hours of my time, bed, rinse, repeat. And this is how today was different, because today it hit me. Today I recognized this system for what it is, absolute bullshit. Today I identified within myself what life should be, rather than what is simply accepted. But why? Why do so many people become so completely dismissive to that tiny little itch deep within their souls that calls out to them, trying to remind them what this life could be? Or perhaps I should further emphasize my belief by saying what this life simply should be. Are we really here to be born into this world, raised as a child and molded into conformity, taught what is to be normal, how to think, what to say, how to live? We begin our young lives with constant indoctrination under the guise of education, only to grow up with higher expectations from all the garbage society shoves into our minds. Our obsession with idols, entertainment, and celebrities has us chasing unattainable wealth and fame until we finally realize that reality is knocking on our door and it's time to put the suit on and get that dream job everyone's always talking about. And why not? Maybe get a nice house in the suburbs, a nice car, enough money to live comfortably numb to the world around us. Maybe a nice little dog will do too. Yes, I think so. Sony has a new big screen? Why yes, I must have that. Right after I get the iPhone 15. We grow up being told who to be. We become that person we are told what to buy, what to wear, and how to be happy. And if you can't be happy, well, there's drugs to help. Then we get old, maybe buy a home in Florida, and then we die. Is this what we're here for? To be shaped into molds, taught to consume until the day we're put into the ground? My mind raced. Conformity, corruption, apathy, acceptance, oppression, violations of human rights. Millions of people suffering, starving, struggling. But why? Why does this have to happen, and how is this acceptable? Corporate bigwigs are living a high life while they rape the land we all share and steal our way of life. Our cultures are polluted by their preachings of capitalism and consumerism. Do we really even know ourselves anymore? Do you like what you see within yourself? Are you happy with the life you have, the struggle of your daily life and lives of others around you? Can you honestly justify that simply because things are going well for you at this present time, nothing needs to be done to change this world, to end the suffering and struggle of millions? Where has our compassion gone? Where's our passion for life? Fact, almost half the world, over 3 billion people, live on less than $2.50 a day. 3 billion people! At least 80% of humanity lives on less than $10 a day and live in countries where income differentials are widening. 22,000 children die each day due to poverty, and 1 billion live in poverty. That's 1 out of every 2 children in the world. Fact, the world military expenditure in 2010 is estimated to have reached $1.62 trillion in US dollars, representing a 50% increase since 2001. This corresponds to 2.6% of the world GDP, or approximately $236 for each person in the entire world. The United States, with its massive spending budget, is the principal determinant of the current world trend, and now at 43% of the world total, accounts for just under half the military expenditures of the entire world. Fact, the National Police Misconduct Statistics and Reporting Project, NPMSRP, was started in March of 2009 as a method of recording and analyzing police misconduct in the United States through the utilization of news media reports to generate statistical and trending information. In general, from April 2009 to June 2010, there were 5,986 reports of misconduct that have been recorded. 382 fatalities were linked to misconduct. Nearly $350 billion had been spent in related settlements and judgments. 23% of the reports from 2010 at the time of presentation were due to excessive force. 10.6% were linked to sexual misconduct in officers. And recently, in Dayton, Ohio, a mentally handicapped boy was beaten, tased, and arrested by Dayton police. The lists of injustices and corruption in the world go on and on. And now I ask again, how have we come to accept this? Simply because that is the way it is? If we as humans truly have souls, reason, logic, and compassion, then I say that accepting the unacceptably unjust is less than acceptable. Was this a sudden epiphany that burst in my brain, spontaneously igniting receptors and allowing my thought process to comprehend these matters specifically on this day? No, today was different because beginning on this day, I can no longer accept this insanity simply because that's the way it is. Today I can see the system before me, its gears turning, surrounding us from every angle as the machine swallows us whole. Today I brought my wrench. Today, my heart and soul ignited with the ideas that make me anonymous. And on this day, we must set the record straight. Still an individual, I am also many. I am you, and you are me. We are one within our cause. Anonymous is not a group, nor is it a membership. Anonymous is merely an idea, the idea of true freedom, a world free of corruption, oppression, and tyranny where we can live our lives as we see fit and truly be ourselves and be accepted for it. An idea that seeks to defend the freedoms and pursue the proper course in the better interest of the people of this planet, rather than cater to the bank accounts of a small percentage of wealthy elite and crooked politicians and government officials. In sharing these ideas and principles, we are all anonymous. We are not who we have been portrayed to be. While some who associate themselves as anonymous may make the personal decision to attack targets through hacking and exploits, being anonymous does not make you a hacker, nor does it mean that you are a criminal. Being anonymous simply means that one shares the values and principles of freedom, the defense of it, and the pursuit for it. We are ordinary people concerned with the state of this world. We are your neighbors, your friends, your family. We are your mailmen, store clerks, business professionals, veterans, and military personnel. And united as this one idea we call anonymous, we desire a change. A change that is for once in the better interest of the people of this world. Through this desire, we have devised what we so simply yet eloquently call the plan. The plan consists of 3 phases occurring over the course of the next year and will continue from there on. Since the launch on June 15, 2011, we have grown to over 50,000 members strong. Our actions and passion for our cause speak volumes for the sincere and pure motives of our movement. What do we desire? A more promising way of life, free of the constraints society has laid upon us, free of the division, a world with more transparent governments that work for the people instead of against them, where peace officers are serving the people once again rather than the establishment. A world where we can evolve as a world community, end these senseless wars, and settle our differences with nothing more than true diplomacy. We wish to have less corporate influence in our countries and in our daily lives. We want to see the return of Main Street and the gradual containment of Wall Street. And most certainly, we desire the ability to control our own economy by removing the powers that have been granted to the world banks and ridding the world of their fiat currencies. To sum the many ideas we share into one statement, we desire a world that works together as human beings in the best interest of the people, decided by the people, rather than a world divided by race and nationality that functions solely for wealth and conquest. The phases of the plan are broken down ever so simply and yet complex in their own entirety. Phase 1, assemble. Spread the message and begin educating yourself further on the corruption that takes place within our communities and our world as a whole. Share information and assist each other in developing new ideas for our own lives and our communities to improve the current condition. Phase 2, organize. Continue spreading the message and education. Begin reaching out into your own community and building the unity and bond to strengthen the cause in your local areas. Learn what you can do to help others around you. Learn compassion and caring for others and ways you can improve the lives of others. Begin planning ways to address the important issues that stand between our communities and a better way of life. Phase 3. Mobilize. Our efforts come full circle, and we begin to share our dissatisfaction in organized mass unison with those who control the current structure of the system. Mass protests, boycotts, and other peaceful means of non-compliance will be used to set the message straight that we will no longer participate and tolerate this system of servitude. Our unity will be our stronghold. Our respect and understanding for personal differences will be our foundation. Our cause will be our offensive, and our dedication, intelligence, and philosophy will be our defense. Change is coming, and we can for once look forward to this change. United as one, divided by zero. We are anonymous. Expect us.
Greetings, citizens of the world. We should all remember the 5th of November, the day the earth stood still. One people united together, a symbol of humanity's strong will. The battle only just begun, yet already so close to being won. Now we stand at the crossroads of history, ready to embrace our destiny. This past 5th of November showed unity on a scale worldwide. From Japan to the Philippines, to Australia, the United States, Canada, Germany, and the United Kingdom, in over 400 cities worldwide, people stood as one and made their collective voice heard. We all made it clear this is our planet, and corruption, greed, and injustice are never forgotten, nor accepted by the citizens of the world. Few mainstream media outlets covered the events of November 5, 2015. Nevertheless, the powers that be know what happened on that day and an impact was made. In the words of Gandhi, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. We've seen them ignore us, we've seen them laugh at us, we've seen them fight us, and now they're seeing us win. Even in the darkest hours, never stop believing in the power you hold. For the true power always lies in the people, never the governments and corporations. Remember, any day can be the 5th of November, what matters isn't the date, it's humanity's spirit. For example, this winter season, small acts of kindness for those less fortunate can go a long way. Currently there's an ongoing operation called Ops of Winter, which focuses on helping those in need. Food banks need donations of food and water. In addition, for someone without a place to stay, a simple pair of socks will go a long way. The things we take for granted are often what many pray to have. Shelter, a warm meal, blankets, even clean water. Millions of people worldwide are going without them, and some are dying because of it. These are issues that are solvable today. Let's take that energy of the 5th of November and apply it every day in our everyday lives. Rather than waiting for things to change for the better, be the change. A small act of kindness multiplies fast and soon becomes a beacon of hope, unity, and progress that lights the road for generations to come. We are anonymous, we are legion, we can forgive, yet we shall never forget. Expect us.
Let the beat pop.
Mr. Dascom, what we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink. I want this country to realize that we stand on the edge of oblivion. I want every man, woman, and child to understand how close we are to chaos. I want everyone to remember why they need us.
I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value!
Any attack made by the rebels against this station would be a useless gesture, no matter what technical data they've obtained. This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
That is fantastic. Terrific work. So no weaknesses at all, huh?
No.
You hesitated there. Is there something I should know?
No, it's virtually indestructible, like 99.99%.
Okay. Wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask what's the .01.
You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Whoa. That sounds like a pretty big design flaw there.
No. The hole's only 2 meters across.
Well, that's no bigger than a womp rat.
Good day, public. We are Anonymous. We are citizens of the world who bear witness to tyranny, oppression, and censorship. We are activists who seek to change the system and end the cycle of corruption. We seek to create transparency in governments and all institutions.
I like this new politicized Anonymous.
Those who
I think
seek
it's
to
good
violate
because
your
they're very
rights as a
good at
human
spreading
being.
the word. Their in-house PR is amazing.
Yes.
So anything that they get involved with usually gets picked up, and I think this would have been ignored by the media until Anonymous started.
I think you're absolutely right about that.
Tonight on CNN Presents Anonymous. They live in the shadows.
This is the closest thing to a global revolution that we have ever gotten.
But their message and tactics have ignited a movement around the world. A look inside their shadowy group's secret.
I may very well be there. Of course, I'll be wearing a mask.
This isn't a joke, and the media would be well advised to take these folks seriously. Their grievances are real, their numbers are growing, and the rest of us would be well advised to start paying attention.
Today we act! Today we send a message to them and everybody else! We are taking back our futures!
It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
Well, you've heard of the hacker group that calls itself Anonymous. They're hacking activists, Wall Street occupiers. They love them. Corporate security hates them, and the FBI is tracking them down. So who are these people?
As a collective of autonomous individuals, we have no leaders who dictate the methods of resistance. Therefore, some of us are indeed hackers who use our skills to make critical information available to the public. Some of us research news that corporate media ignores or distorts. Some of us organize protests and rallies.
It's a dark and disturbing vision. A world where riot police attack with impunity.
What happened? He got shot! Get back!
Where democracy is corrupted by greed and dissent is crushed. That's how Anonymous sees America. And they say that's why they're fighting back.
This is wrong. And while our government has now declared that it has given up the concept of right and wrong, you and I have not and will not do so.
Beyond the US, protesters are holding a day of coordinated action in cities across the world.
We must rise not violently but insistently General strikes, boycotts, protests, sit-ins, non-cooperation, takeovers.
A global outcry against corporate greed has risen up in almost 1,000 cities worldwide. People have taken their anger to the streets.
It's a movement that defies description. Leaderless, faceless, anarchic. This is our space! A loose collective born on the internet. Anonymous has no official members and no hierarchy. Instead of gunpowder,
We are everyone,
Anonymous
and we are no
uses
one.
the internet.
None of us are as powerful as all of us.
Anonymous was evolving, using its power to shock and disrupt to affect social change.
Spread this message like the
Literally
plague.
saving lives.
They did everything from take down government websites. They wrote scripts to stop the phishing of passwords. They brought massive media attention.
Shadowy internet group known as Anonymous has grown now far beyond its hacker roots. It's now emerging as a forceful public relations weapon for the Occupy protest movement.
Stepping out from behind their secure computer screens for a new cause. Occupy Wall Street.
There is a revolution brewing.
Suddenly, the symbols of Anonymous were everywhere. In flags, masks, banners.
The 99%! We have very little time to influence the events that are headed our way. Right now, we must form a coalition across the left and right. We must set aside our petty differences, no matter how important we think those differences are. We must unify against our common enemy. Our government has become a mere figurehead to the real powers that be. The Congress, the Senate, the executive branch do not represent our interest. They are bought and paid for. They are corrupt beyond all repair. And they deserve nothing less than to be arrested and tried for high treason. We the people have the power to take them down. It's in our hands right now. The government's power is derived solely from our obedience. Its wealth is derived solely from our labor. Its strength is actually our strength. Take it back from them.
That resistance, facilitated and amplified by a weapon our predecessors did not have, the glory that is instantaneous communication.
The solution to these issues is not less speech, but more speech. Not less or restrictive action, but more and constructive action.
The diversity of Anonymous is as vast as the human condition, thus, as the way of the universe, the good with the bad, the left with the right. Change is instant, and it is total. Anonymous is the sum of its members divided infinitely.
We are Anonymous.
When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever is necessary to get that criminal off my back.
Terror is not a new weapon. Throughout history, it has been used by those who could not prevail. Inevitably, they fail.
Unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Every time they look over their shoulder, we want them to see us.
Dear citizens of the world, Operation Awake the Masses has begun. First, let's make one thing clear for the ones still not believing our words as being the truth. We are not a conspiracy created in China or Russia determined to overthrow the United States of America. As far as we can see, almost all of the governments of the world are poisoned by greed and enslaved by the monopoly cartel. We have been created by the very acts of violence, terror and greed, which has been used by your government and its shadow masters ruling it, to conquer the entire world. Anonymous is everyone. Everyone can take action in its own way against their own governments if they believe that the people working there does not serve the citizens' best interest, but instead they serve the corporate monopoly. Action must be taken nonetheless. We are not blind and we see the problems facing Asia and the Middle East. But first we will concentrate our efforts into the direction of the United States of America. Here is where the most unequal distribution of wealth exists. 400 people now own more wealth than most of its population, to be precise more than 150 million people. 400 versus 150 million people. This will only stop if we start to awake the people that see life very different than the rest of us. The people we are talking about spend most of their time watching foolish TV shows about celebrities and still believe that their leaders only want the best for them, also watching whatever sick programs created for the human mind to be enslaved and redirected from the real problems facing humanity. We have seen many brothers and sisters showing their interest and wanting to help humanity to pass on the right track. Well, now is your chance. Here is what you can do to help to break the chains which have enslaved our planet. Upload on any social network or video sharing sites like Facebook and YouTube all the videos that you believe that represents the truth of the danger that threats our very existence. But, rename their title in a way so that people that are still asleep to be interested in. You have to make it look interesting in title. but the content to be straight to the matter. Of course most of them will ignore the videos, report them, have them deleted, so be careful to use accounts them you can dispose of, so that your own accounts can be safe. This will also trigger a much secure protocol of those social networks and video sharing sites, but by the time they will implement them, we would already gain another couple of millions of awakened people on our side. Just think what chain reaction we could create. We remind the rest of anonymous collectives to never underestimate the power of brainwashed people in large numbers. We are still a minority compared to the rest of the Earth population, and the only way we will ever have a chance into saving humanity once and for all from the monopoly banking system, is by telling people the truth even if they don't want to hear it.
Are you still on the computer?
Mom, I'm trying to make a video.
You are spending too much time in this room. Why don't you go outside and play?
I'm trying to fight the government.
Look at this place. It's a disaster.
No, this is serious. I'm anonymous.
No, you're not. You're Timmy Moffat.
Ignore this woman. She knows not of what she speaks. She's an agent of the government.
Oh, you are just hilarious. You know what, sweetie? 10 more minutes on that video game, and then I want you to shut it right off.
No, Mom, I can't.
I'm serious.
I hate her. I hate her so much.
We are anonymous. We are Legion. Expect us.
As a child, you would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew that you'd be the one to work while they all play. In youth, you'd lay awake at night and scheme of all the things that you would change, but it was just a dream. Here we are, don't turn away now. We are the warriors that built this town. Here we are, don't turn away now. We are the warriors that built this town. The time will come when you have to rise above the rest and prove yourself. Your spirit never dies. Farewell, I've gone to take my throne above, but don't weep for me, 'cause this will be the labor of my love. Here we are, don't turn away now. We are the warriors that built this town. Here we are, don't turn away now. We are the warriors that built this town. Here we are, don't turn away now. We are the warriors that built this town. Here we are, don't turn away now. We are the warriors that built this town. From dust.
American citizens, you are currently at war. You probably don't know that you are under attack, but there is a terror ring that is set on enslaving you. Don't let it be too late before you realize this. You are being attacked by a domestic enemy, your government. For some time now, the United States government officials have been passing bill after bill that are eating away at your rights. They are distracting you with select stories to fuel racial hate, who's getting a tummy tuck in Hollywood, or trying to portray Anonymous and other hacktivists as being terrorist threats. They have counted on you being distracted, while they pass these bills to take total control over all aspects of your life. The move to take control has been accelerating over the last few years. Is this the reason Olympia Snow will not be running for another term? Has she realized what this government is doing to its people, and decided not to be a part of it? The United States Constitution and Bill of Rights are being dismantled. You will soon lose all your rights, and live in a police state society. You are not the only country this is happening to, but we want to wake the American people before it is too late. Some things you need to pay attention to and research are, where are the real news stories? You are not getting the true news. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said that Al Jazeera is gaining more prominence in the United States because it offers real news, something she said American media were falling far short of doing. Why is that, Hillary? News outlets in the United States have been silenced. What has been going on with the Occupy movement lately? We know, as we are watching. It is still happening, even though you do not hear about it. It has been getting violent at times, but you do not hear about this either. Bills that the United States government has passed that should concern you. The Patriot Act. Senators Ron Wyden and Mark Udall plead with the government to provide the American people with the facts behind what the Patriot Act can let America's top investigators do. They said citizens would be stunned to learn what the government believes it can get away with under the law. This is coming from two of your own senators. New World Order. Get familiar with the concept of this. Agenda 21. Read the structure and contents. NDAA, or the National Defense Authorization Act. Indefinite detention of people without a trial. This includes the United States citizens. SOPA, PIPA, ACTA, and most recently CISPA. All of these will greatly limit your freedoms, and will take away your privacy on the internet. Some have been shot down already, but ACTA and CISPA are in the works as we speak. H.R. 347, a bill that will allow law enforcement to arrest you for protesting. If there is anyone in the general area of a protest that requires them to have Secret Service protection, you will be arrested. H.R. 3166, Enemy Expatriation Act. This has not passed as of yet, but watch for it. H.R. 3166 will allow your government to strip you of the United States citizenship. This, combined with NDAA, should scare the hell out of you. NDRP, National Defense Resource Preparedness, allows the United States government to take any resources from you it sees necessary for itself. Land, personal possessions, etc. The Supreme Court just ruled that an officer of the law can strip search anyone that it arrests, no matter how minor the crime. You can now be strip searched, where you never would have been strip searched before. Police departments tracking you by your cell phone? Yes, they are doing that now. Funny thing is, they are not obtaining a warrant before doing so, and getting away with it. Arizona House Bill 2549 sitting on Jen Brewer's desk waiting to be vetoed or signed. This will allow authorities to arrest you for posting anything online that is offensive to another person. This bill is so vague that you could get charged for writing you disapprove of Jen Brewer's policies. This is crazy times that we are living in. Your government is setting up so when it decides to take control, there will be no resistance. If you show resistance, whether it is openly or online, you will be taken away, held indefinitely, without a reason or a trial. It is time to wake up, America. See what is happening around you. Links will be provided in the description below. Read for yourself. Every word in this message is nothing but the truth. We are on your side.
Cause if you're not willing to fight for your beliefs, is it really something that you believe? Cause I will give my life for revolution. I mean every word that I speak. See, I was raised around beef, fam. I've seen guns, little kids shotting for the elders and teen mums. And I don't want you to think that we're preaching, cause we're getting taught by the same people that we're teaching. And this is not a black and white issue. This is about the people who died. We all miss you. They killed Blair Peach while he tried to demonstrate, and they killed Ian Tomlinson the other day. So the revolution is the next step. Tell them that the people are the soldiers that they'll never get. Make them know that each of our opinions should be heard. We need to spread the message to the whole world.
I'm just living my life, I want nothing but freedom. And I'm trying to find something to believe in. Cause all my life they had me dreaming. But it's time to wake up, no more sleeping.
Listen, wake up. Open your eyes, fam, and don't believe the lies. What we see as paradise is getting demonized. You sat on the sofa while the television feeds you hype. Used to graphing when they can't even read or write. The devil's not that red-horned evil guy. The devil's inside everything that we despise. They globalize and then they minimize the population. My brother Dunn told the world about abomination. Cause you gotta be a part of the bloodline. Not all gangsters have to do gun crime. Some work on a bigger scale, fishing for a bigger fish. Politics is obvious, I'm sick of it. Not a British citizen. Spit a dart for every innocent that they're killing. Every single Palestinian, they're killing them in millions. But it doesn't get on the news, so the majority get it confused.
I'm just living my life, I want nothing but freedom. And I'm trying to find something to believe in. All my life they had me dreaming. But it's time to wake up, no more sleeping.
We need more brighter days. We need to find our way from these shackles and these chains. Always voice our pain. Arm in arm we stand until they hear us say.
If you think that Obama's here to save us, Obama is a way for them to gain trust. They got people who don't vote to start voting. It's just a way for the Freemasons to know things. Get you on a system, then they've got you. And if you sign on, fam, yeah, they've got you. And if you go to university, they got you. Even if you're walking on the road, fam, they got you. Cameras clock you. Feds patrol the streets and they're making up reasons to stop you. Most ain't got a clue. We all know that the whole world is at war over fossil fuels. I wanna move, but I gotta do what I do. If you know someone else, come and tell me who. You wanna know why Obama made it? Cause Obama and Bush are related.
I'm just living my life, I want nothing but freedom. And I'm trying to find something to believe in. Cause all my life they had me dreaming. But it's time to wake up, no more sleeping.
imagine in how many ways the world is the opposite of what you have been taught to believe. You see the guy who sells drugs to willing customers so he can feed his family as the scum of the earth, while you see the hypocrite who gives away stolen money in the name of government as a saint. You see the guy who tries to avoid being robbed by the federal thugs as a crook and a tax cheat, but see as virtuous the politician who gives away the same stolen loot to people to whom it does not belong. You see the cop as a good guy when he drags a man away from his friends and family and throws him in prison for 10 years for smoking a leaf, and you see anyone who defends himself from such barbaric fascism as the lowest form of life, a cop killer. In reality, most drug dealers are more virtuous than any government social worker, and prostitutes have far less to be ashamed of than political whores, because they trade only with what is rightfully theirs, and only with those who want to trade with them. The upstanding, church-going, law-abiding, tax-paying citizen who votes Democrat or Republican is far more despicable and a bigger threat to humanity than the most promiscuous, lazy, drug-snorting hippie. Why? Because the hippie is willing to let others be free, and the voter is not. The damage done to society by bad habits and loose morality is nothing compared to the damage done to society by the self-righteous violence committed in the name of the state. You imagine yourselves to be charitable and tolerant when you are nothing of the sort. Even the Nazis had table manners and proper etiquette when they weren't killing people. You think you're good people because you say please and thank you? You think sitting in that big building on Sunday makes you noble and righteous? The difference between you and a common thief is that the thief has the honesty to commit the crime himself, while you whine for government to do your stealing for you. The difference between you and the street thug is that the thug is open about the violence he commits, while you let others forcibly control your neighbors on your behalf. You advocate theft, harassment, assault, and even murder, but accept no responsibility for doing so. You old folks want the government to steal from your kids so you can get your monthly check. You parents want all your neighbors to be robbed to pay for your kids' schooling. You all vote for whichever crook promises to steal money from other people to pay for what you want. You demand that those people who engage in behaviors you don't approve of be dragged off and locked up, but feel no guilt for the countless lives your whims have destroyed. You even call the government thugs your representatives, and yet you never take responsibility for the evil they commit. You proudly support the troops as they kill whomever the liars in D.C. tell them to kill, and you feel good about it. You call yourselves Christians or Jews, or claim to follow some other religion, but the truth is what you call your religion is empty window dressing. What you truly worship, the God you really bow to, what you really believe in, is the state. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not murder. Unless you can do it by way of government, then it's just fine, isn't it? If you call it taxation and war, it stops being a sin, right? After all, it was only your God that said you shouldn't steal and murder, but the state said it was okay. It's pretty obvious which one outranks the other in your minds. Despite all the churches, synagogues, and mosques we see around us, this nation has one God, and only one God, and that God is called government. Jesus taught nonviolence and told you to love your neighbor, but the state encourages you to vote for people who will use the violence of government to butt into every aspect of everyone else's life. Which do you believe? To those about to stone a woman who had committed adultery, Jesus said, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." But the state says it's perfectly fine to lock someone up if they do something you find distasteful, such as prostitution. Which do you believe? The Christian God says, "Thou shalt not covet," but coveting is the lifeblood of the beast that is the state. You were taught to resent, despise, and hate anyone who has anything you don't have. You clamor for the state to tear other people down, steal their property, and give it to you. And you call that fairness. The Bible calls it coveting and stealing. You are not Christians. You are not Jews. You are not Muslims. And you certainly aren't atheists. You all have the same God, and its name is government. You're all members of the most evil, insane, destructive cult in history. If there ever was a devil, the state is it, and you worship it with all your heart and soul. You pray to it to solve every problem, to satisfy all your needs, to smite your enemies, and to shower its blessings upon you. You worship what Nietzsche called the coldest of all cold monsters, and you hate those of us who don't. To you, the greatest sin is disobeying your God, breaking the law, you call it. As if anyone could possibly have any moral obligation to obey the arbitrary commands and demands of the corrupt, lying, delusional megalomaniacs who infest this despicable town. Even your ministers, priests, and rabbis, more often than not, are traitors to their own religions, teaching that the commands of human authority should supersede adherence to the laws of the gods they say they believe in. Several years ago, I heard one pompous evangelical jackass in particular pontificating on the radio that anyone who disobeys the civil authority, be it a king or any other government, is engaging in rebellion against God. Those were the exact words he used. What if the government is doing something wrong? Well, this salesman for Satan opined, that is the business of those in government, and you are still obligated to obey. Everywhere you turn, be it the state or the church, the media or the schools, you are taught one thing above all else: the virtue of subjugating yourselves to mortals who claim to have the right to rule you. It is sickening the reverence with which you speak of the liars and thieves whose feet are so firmly planted on your necks. You call the congressmen and the judges honorable, and you swoon at the magnificence of the grandiose halls they inhabit, the temples they built to celebrate the domination of mankind. You feel pride at being able to say you once shook a senator's hand or saw the president in person. Ah yes, the grand deity himself, His Royal Highness, the President of the United States of America. You speak the title as if you're referring to God Almighty. The vocabulary has changed a bit, but your mindset is no different from that of the groveling peasants of old who bowed low, faces in the dirt, with a feeling of unworthiness and humility when in the presence of whatever narcissist had declared himself to be their rightful lord and master. The truth of the matter, back then and today, is that these parasites who call themselves leaders are not superior beings. They are not great men and women. They are not honorable. They're not even average. The people who earn an honest living, from sophisticated millionaire entrepreneurs to illiterate day laborers doing the most menial tasks you can imagine, those people deserve your respect. Those people you should treat with courtesy and civility. But the frauds who claim the right to rule you and demand your subservience and obedience, they deserve only your scorn and contempt. Those who seek so-called high office are the lowest of the low. They may dress better, have larger vocabularies, and do a better job of planning out and executing their schemes, but they are no better than pickpockets, muggers, and carjackers. In fact, they are worse, because they don't want to rob you of just your possessions. They want to rob you of your very humanity, deprive you of your free will, by slowly leeching away your ability to think, to judge, to act, reducing you to slaves in both body and mind. And still you persist in calling them leaders. Leaders? Where is it that you think you're going exactly that would require you to have a leader? If you just live your own life and mind your own damn business, exercising your own talents, pursuing your own dreams, striving to be what you believe you should be, what possible use would you have for a leader? Do you ever actually think about the words that you hear, the words that you repeat? You parrot oxymoronic terms such as the leader of the free world, even pretending for a moment that there is some huge journey or some giant battle that everyone in the entire nation is undertaking together that would require a leader. Why would you ever think, even for a moment, that the crooks that infest this town are the sort of people you should listen to or emulate or follow anywhere? Somewhere inside your mostly dormant brains, you know full well that politicians are all corrupt liars and thieves, opportunistic con men, exploiters and fearmongers. You know all this, and yet you still speak as if you are the ones who are the stupid, vicious animals, while the politicians are the great, wise role models, teachers and leaders without whom civilization could not exist. You think these crooks are the ones who make civilization possible? What belief could be more absurd? Yet when they do their pseudo-religious rituals, deciding how to control you this week, you still call it law, and continue to treat their arbitrary demands as if they were moral decrees from the gods that no decent person would ever consider disobeying. You have become so thoroughly indoctrinated into the cult of state worship that you are truly shocked when the occasional sane person states the bleeding obvious. The mere fact that the political crooks wrote something down and declared their threats to be law does not mean that any human being anywhere has the slightest moral obligation to obey. Every moment of every day, in every location and every situation, you have a moral obligation to do what you deem to be right, not what some delusional bloated windbag says is legal. And that requires you to first determine right and wrong for yourself, a responsibility you spend much time and effort trying to dodge. You proclaim how proud you are to be law-abiding citizens and express your utter contempt for anyone who considers himself above your so-called laws. Laws that are nothing more than the selfish whims of tyrants and thieves. The word crime once meant an act harmful to another person. Now it means disobedience to any one of the myriad of arbitrary commands coming from a parasitical criminal class. To you, the term crime is nearly synonymous with the word sin, implying that the ones whose commands are being disobeyed must be something akin to gods, when in truth they are more akin to leeches. The very phrase, taking the law into your own hands, perfectly expresses what a sacrilege it is in your eyes for a mere human being to take upon himself the responsibility to judge right from wrong and to act accordingly, instead of doing what you do, unthinkingly obeying whatever capricious commands this cesspool of maggots spews forth. You glorify this criminal class as lawmakers and believe that no one is lower than a lawbreaker, someone who would dare disobey the politicians. Likewise, you speak with pious reverence of law enforcers, those who forcibly impose the politicians' every whim upon the rest of us. When the state uses violence, you imagine it to be inherently righteous and just, and if anyone resists, they are, in your eyes, contemptible lowlifes, lawless terrorist criminals. Like the lawless terrorist criminals who helped slaves escape the plantations. Like the lawless terrorist criminals who helped Jews escape the killing machine of the Third Reich. Like the lawless terrorist criminals who were crushed to death under the tanks of the Red Chinese government in Tiananmen Square. Like all the lawless terrorist criminals in history who had the courage to disobey the never-ending stream of tyrants and oppressors who have called their violence authority and law. And that includes the lawless terrorist criminals who founded this country. Everything you think you know is upside down, backwards, and inside out. But what has to take the cake, the height of your insanity, is the fact that you view as violent terrorists the only people on the planet who oppose the initiation of violence against their fellow men. Anarchists, voluntarists, and libertarians. We use violence only to defend ourselves against someone who initiates violence against us. We use it for nothing else. Meanwhile, your belief system is completely schizophrenic and self-contradictory. On the one hand, you teach the young slaves that violence is never the answer. Yet out of the other side of your mouths, you advocate that everyone and everything, everywhere and at all times be controlled, monitored, taxed, and regulated through the force of government. In short, you are teaching your children that the masters may use violence whenever they please, but the slave should never resist. You indoctrinate your children into a life of unthinking, helpless subservience. You are putting the chains around their little necks and fastening the locks tight. And worst of all, you feel good about it. Out of one side of your mouths, you condemn the evils of fascism and socialism and lament the injustices of the regimes of Hitler, Stalin, and Mao. While out of the other side of your mouths, you preach exactly what they did. The worship of the collective, the subjugation of every individual to that evil insanity that wears the deceptive label, the common good. You babble on about diversity and open-mindedness, and then beg your masters to regulate and control every aspect of everyone's lives, creating a giant herd of unthinking conformist drones. You wear different clothes and have different hairstyles, and you think that makes you different. Yet all your minds are enslaved to the same club of masters and controllers. You think what they tell you to think, and do what they tell you to do, while imagining yourselves to be progressive, thinking, and enlightened. From your position of relative comfort and safety, you now condemn the evils of other lands and other times, while turning a blind eye to the injustices happening right in front of you. You tell yourself that had you lived in those other places, in those other times, you would have been among those who stood up against oppression and defended the downtrodden. But that is a lie. You would have been right there with the rest of the flock of well-trained sheep, loudly demanding that the slaves be beaten, that the witches be burned, that the nonconformists and rebels be destroyed. How do I know this? Because that is exactly what you are doing today. Today's injustices and oppressions are fashionable and popular, and those who resist them, you tell yourselves, are just malcontents and freaks, people whose rights don't matter, people who deserve to be crushed under the boot of authority. Isn't that right? You bunch of spineless, unthinking hypocrites, look in the mirror. Take a good look at what you imagine to be righteous and kind. You are the devil's plaything. the crowds of thousands wildly applauding the speeches of Adolf Hitler, that was you. The mob demanding that Jesus Christ be nailed to the cross, that was you. The white invaders who celebrated the wholesale slaughter of those godless redskins, that was you. The throngs filling the Colosseum, applauding as the Christians were fed to the lions, that was you. Throughout history, the perpetual suffering and injustice occurring on an incomprehensible scale, it was all because of people just like you. The well-trained, thoroughly indoctrinated conformists, the people who do as they're told, who proudly bow to their masters, who follow the crowd, believing what everyone else believes and thinking whatever authority tells them to think. That is you. And your ignorance is not because the truth is not available to you. There have been radicals preaching it for thousands of years. No, you are ignorant because you shun the truth with all your heart and soul. You close your eyes and run away when a hint of reality lands in front of you. You condemn as extremists and fringe kooks those who try to show you the chains you wear because you don't want to be free. You don't even want to be human. Responsibility and reality scare the hell out of you, so you cling tightly to your own enslavement and lash out at any who seek to free you from it.
Maybe I'm missing something. But for the life of me, I can't figure this out. I read and I read and I watch and I watch. Everyone wants to tell me how the world is going to hell. Everyone wants to tell me why. The environment is threatened by corporations. The police are racist thugs with guns. Amazon doesn't give their workers pee breaks. The Gaza Strip is an open-air prison. Wall Street is plundering the wealth of our country, and the IMF is raping the wealth of the rest of the world. All governments of the world's countries are corrupt. There is starvation when there is food. There is greed when there is need. And you were telling me. You were telling me as if I'm directly responsible. We had a response to this type of misdirected blame when I was a kid. It's your world, I'm just living in it. I think that it is apropos at this juncture in history as well. The alternative press, indeed the entirety of citizen journalism, is as effectual as a long drink of water. It isn't getting anything done, save to inform people that there are problems in the world, as if people didn't realize that. But they are pinpointing who is responsible, you might well add. Well, that's the first step to changing things. Not unless you also have their home addresses. Never in the history of this sad planet have so many bitched about so much, and it all amounts to nothing. It isn't changing a damn thing. I've yet to hear, "Storm the castle, lynch the bastards." We all know who is responsible for the nightmare that is the human condition, but as Mark Twain once observed about the weather, no one does anything about it. We all know what needs to be done, and yet we play the peaceful protest game, made up by the very people that stand to benefit from such innocuous solutions. And we are left with only the idiots that burn down Little Caesars. That'll show him. But things are not just that simple. There are various solutions to various problems, you say. I have always been what is known as a hammer mechanic. If you can't get it done with a hammer, use a bigger one. Of course, I could get into a lot of trouble calling for revolution here. But fuck it, I'm tired of everyone telling everyone else what is wrong. They are telling the wrong people. You tell Lloyd Blankfein about the misery he has caused in the world just before you tighten the noose around his neck. You tell Rupert Murdoch about the millions he has wronged minutes before you throw him out a 30-story window. You inform Bibi Netanyahu that he is a racist, murdering pig the instant that you toss him unarmed into a crowd of Palestinian prisoners. These people deserve no more justice than this. But what about the rule of law? You might well ask. Did you vote for a law that allows corporations to attain the rights of the individual? Did you vote for the Patriot Act? Did you vote to make Israel a state within Palestine? No. Well, who did all these things without your consent? I could go on forever, and have for years here, about what the roots of our problems are, and it won't change anything. A child can see how to begin to fix the inequities of this planet. But it takes a politically correct adult to avoid addressing the problems effectively. And it ain't about carrying placards or suing some company or other. It ain't about voting for yet another charming, greedy bastard. You know this. And yet you pee your knickers every time you think about doing the right thing. Putting your foot down, getting a spine. So, yes, I am calling for the revolution to begin. Don't let them convince you that anarchy isn't what you need to order off the menu. It cannot be any worse than this antiquated hierarchy that we live in today. Again, you know this, but you are afraid. You admire V for blowing up Parliament to the tune of the 1812 Overture and slashing the throats of the elite rulers. And yet you pause at such rash solutions yourself. It makes us no different from them to sink to that level, I hear you saying. Yeah. And? What you call out in all your bitching has a logical conclusion. Revolution is a revolution. It isn't watching YouTube videos about what we should be doing in the face of annihilation of our species by a few. You string them up. I don't know how I can say that any more clearly. V isn't going to do it for you. Jesus isn't going to do it for you. Muhammad or Kim Kardashian aren't going to fight your battles. I haven't been around much of late. This is the reason. I'm sick of all the bitching from people that don't want to sacrifice anything for a better world. When you get a group together with torches and pitchforks, give me a call. And stop telling me about it unless you're ready to fucking well stop it.
You are the light I follow. You are the face of a faith I darling, believe in me. You are the hem, my cover. You are the king of an Indian love. Oh, my darling, the fever in me. I went for a while, I know, but I let it go. Yes, I let it go. My fear is gone. You are the hope I cherish. You